It's
Recording
7
in
o'clock, and I'll
progress.
call the county commission meeting to order. Commissioner Simpkins, you lead some prayer, please.
Let us pray. Lord, thank you for giving us this great day. Be with us tonight to make the right decision for the citizens of this great county. Be with our soldiers who are away on foreign soils and allow them to return home safely. Be with us tonight as we journey back home and be with our loved ones. I ask this in your name, Lord. Amen.
Amen. If everyone stand for the pledge. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Simpkins?
Here.
Mr. Eby?
Here.
Mr. McElwain? Here. Mr. Beatty? Here. Mr. Dawson? Here. Ms. Spicer? Here. Mr. Buckner? Here. Mr. Ellis? Here. Mr. Petty? Mr. Williams? Here. Ms. Hayes? Mr. Reed?
We do have a quorum. Mr. Petty has a business conflict for tonight. He may show up later on this. Ms. Hayes is under the weather, so keep her in your thoughts and prayers. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from the December 20th regular session. I'll open the floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Beatty, second by Commissioner Ellis. Any questions or discussion or changes? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Second item of business, committee reports. Are any committees to report tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on. I'm going to ask for some latitude here from the commission if there's no objection. The public hearing that I think most of our folks are here tonight that are interested in, and other business, if those are voted on to move forward, I'd like to group those together at the end. We've got some other business that we can do. We can get that out of the way, and there's some individuals that are not here for that. We can excuse them and make a little more room for everybody else. So if there's no objection, I'm going to go on down the order of the business and skip over this and bring it near the end. No objections heard. Next item of business is elections. Agriculture Extension Committee. The names brought forward are Ms. Scarlett McMean and Commissioner Randy Simpkins to be re-elected to the Agriculture Extension Committee. Open floor for motion. Motion by Commissioner McElwain, second by Commissioner Buckner. Any discussion or any questions? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item of business is resolutions. The first is the 2022 Certified Road List. Mr. Burgess has given that out to you at the last meeting. Any questions or discussion on that?
I had one question.
Yes.
I just had one question on the road widths. Are those pretty accurate? Did you say the road widths? Yeah, the road widths.
Some of the near pavements are not updated, but we're in the process of trying to get everything squared away on that part of it.
Okay, but for the most part, it's probably pretty accurate, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Open the floor for a motion, a second. Motion by Commissioner Spicer. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Reed. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item of business resolution, traffic study guidelines. Mr. Darnell, would you address this just for a second? As y'all recall, this was brought up a couple of months ago. It was sent back to the commission with some changes to the planning commission that Commissioner Williams and y'all recommended. And so we're at a point now where it's brought back for a final reading. But I'd like Mr. Darnell to get us up to date on this, just in case, just kind of catch us back up to speed. Mr. Darnell.
It was first approved by the planning commission, and it come to the county commissioners' public hearing, and it was approved. Then when it come to final reading, you asked for some changes. We did send it back in November. The planning commission agreed with that, and now this will be the final reading on it in the resolution.
Any questions for Mr. Darnell? Hearing none, I'll open the floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Williams. Have a second. Second by Commissioner Eby. Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Darnell. Under other business, the first three items had to do with what our public hearing is. So I'll go down to the fiscal confirmation letter. fiscal confirmation letter is what we have to do annually for the 3-star program to show that we have our budget has been approved and was approved also by the controller of the treasurer's office. That qualifies us for a 3-star program, which can give us grants if we are in a position looking for industry to come to the community and any parks and rec grants, things like that. So that's what this is confirming that. So it's simple on that. Any questions? Open floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Spicer, second by Commissioner Eby. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next order of business is approval of notaries. Madam Clerk.
Linda Askins, Philip Grigsby, Nora Keel, William Knowles, Linda Overby, Doretha Payne, Valerie Sawyer, F.W. Rose, Katrina Y. Wall, Cynthia Dawn Zwingle.
Open the floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Buckner, second by Commissioner Reed. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We covered all the business except, okay. We'll go back up to the top of the agenda now and go into public hearings. The first public hearing is revised zoning resolution 5.041 subsection E4, changes lot size requirements from 1 acre lot to 1.5 acres. Mr. Darnell.
Okay, tonight's public hearing, you got 3 zoning resolution changes that were all proposed and passed by the Planning Commission at their November 18th, 2021 meeting. The first one, like the mayor said, is to revise the zoning resolution 5.041 subsection E4. That changes the lot size from 1 acre to 1.5 acres. The second change is to revise zoning resolution 5.041 subsection E-5. That changes the lot width at the building setback from 100 foot to 160 feet. And the third is to amend the zoning resolution 3.030 to add subsection E. What that does, any new subdivision lot which abuts an existing county road or highway must have at least 160 feet of road frontage.
Before we go any further on that, I'd just recognize Mr. Darnell for the one, but that's fine that he's done the 2. But before we go any further, let me read those other 2 into the record. The other public hearing is revised zoning resolution 5.041 subsection E5, changes lot width at building setback from 100 feet to 160 feet. Number 3, public hearing, amend rezoning resolution 3.030 to add subsection E. Any new subdivision lot which abuts an existing county road or highway must have at least 160 feet of road frontage. Mr. Darnell's now presented that to you. Before we open the public hearing, any questions or clarification you need from Mr. Dawson or Mr. Darnell at this time? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Darnell. We're going to open this up. And technically, we're having 3 public hearings, but we're going to do these simultaneously because these really affect each other. And so what I want to do at this point in time, we're going to make time to make sure everybody can speak, but I need to do a little math to see how many people are here to speak on these subjects so we can divide out the time evenly. But as you can see, we're done early, so we're not in a rush to get this done. We've got plenty of time to talk about this and hear from all the citizens on this. So people that want to speak, regardless of your position on this, would you raise your hands? Somebody help me count back there in the back. I see 1, 2. You got 8? I had 10, but need my prescription done. All right. I'll see the doctor tomorrow. On this, those that are here for any and all these, could you raise your hand? Okay. Any here to speak against? No. It looks like we're going to have it lined up nicely where everybody can have a chance on this. What I'd like to do is give you each, at this point, 5 minutes to speak. What we'll ask you to do is come to the podium and speak. We need you to state your name and address and direct your remarks to the county commissioner or myself on this. This is truly democracy at work, where you get an opportunity to have your say. I know some people are a little wound up nervous about it, but I think this is cool. This is when we get to play the game the way it's supposed to be, where everybody gets to have a say in what you want your community to look like. As we move forward to this night, after this, after the public hearing will be closed, we'll move back down to each of these items to be voted on. It'll be the will of the commission to either move these forward or to deny them or send them back to or to approve, deny, or they can move this down to February's meeting without an approval, just buying more time where if they need to hear more from the citizens on this. So I want to make you aware of that. So regardless of what goes on tonight, this is not the end of it necessarily tonight. So I want to tell you that. So we're going to open up, and we have 8 people, and if you're shy and didn't want to raise your hand to begin with, you want to be number 9 and 10, let me know on this, because that's going to affect our time, but I want everybody to have an opportunity to be heard. I'm going to run the clock up here. I'll manage that. I'm going to hold my hand up, show you 5 seconds beforehand, and please stay work to the time, because we want to be fair to everyone that wants to speak, want to be heard. So whoever would like to come first, if you come to the podium and state your name and let us know what you'd like to say. Come on, jump on out there. Get in the water. The pool's just fine once you get in.
Bill Joyce. I live at 3960 Highway 47 East in Burns, and I appreciate the opportunity. It's been kind of fun talking to some of our commissioners. You got some real characters on this group.
Yes.
And I tell you what, I wouldn't take your job for 3 times the pay. This is, I'm kind of walking the fence because I'm in the lumber business and I sell lumber and flooring to a lot of contractors. And I hope they don't take issue with me, but Dickson County is close to my heart. I live here, I raised my family here, my business is here, and I love this county. And I'm seeing, I thought really the 2 greatest assets that the county had when I moved here in '87 was East Hills Restaurant and the scenic beauty of the county, the farmlands. Well, all of you know that East Hills is history now, but the scenic farmland doesn't have to completely disappear, but it is leaving at an alarming rate. And I think that we need to tap the brakes, because not only that, but I think the development in the county is overwhelming our ability to public service all these people coming in. So I believe that this is a really good move in the right direction to change the zoning from 1 acre to 1.5 acres. So I would appreciate your strong consideration about that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce. Let the next speaker come forward.
My name is Deborah Rosenthal, and I live at 4076 Highway 47 East near Montgomery Bell State Park. First, I want to thank you for your service and for the opportunity to address you tonight on this very important issue. The community supports the changes before you tonight. I started a petition on change.org describing the package that was passed by the Planning Commission and asking supporters to sign it. The petition, which was primarily circulated on social media, has 227 supporters. I have a copy of the signature list if you'd like to verify it. I believe the petition only reflects a fraction of the community support because many people are not on social media. I've also spoken with countless people over many months about this issue, and I haven't found anyone who doesn't believe these changes are necessary to protect the rural character of our community. If anything, many people think that 1.5 acre minimum lot size is not large enough. With the speed at which development is happening in Dickson County, it's critical that you pass this tonight or soon thereafter. It seems that almost every day we lose more and more county road frontage to these strip-like housing projects. And I am confident that if you pass it, the doomsday scenario painted by the real estate industry is not going to come to pass. Starter home prices won't necessarily increase just because the minimum lot size increases. There are new houses in Dickson County that are virtually identical, except one is on a 1/4 acre or a 1/2 acre lot, and another is on a 1 acre or a larger than 1 acre lot. And the house on the smaller lot is more expensive per square foot than on the larger acre lots. I encourage you all, you can look at Zillow, you can look at other real estate comps, and you can see for yourself that it isn't necessarily gonna happen, that increasing the minimum lot size is gonna increase the price of the houses. Many factors influence the price of a home, including the location in the county, and you can't just isolate one factor. Moreover, building won't stop. It will just take a different form that is more harmonious with Dickson County's character. In fact, I think Commissioner Williams said it best on his campaign website, and I quote, "Smart, planned community growth should be a welcomed and positive step forward if we have long-term planning and adequate infrastructure in place. I believe we should manage our growth so that we protect our rural areas and property values." Commissioner Williams also said on his website that he, and I again quote, "understands the challenges of maintaining our quality of life with planned, managed growth and responsible government oversight." This package of small incremental change is consistent with these goals. Voting yes is an important first step towards managing growth, which is a process that must start immediately. Voting yes will help protect our rural areas and property values. Voting yes is responsible government oversight. And voting no will be a failure to rise to the challenge of balancing growth with maintaining our quality of life in this very special and unique county that will rapidly turn into another Nashville suburb if you do not vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Come on up.
My name is Tina Ferris. I live at 571 Grindstone Hollow Road, District 2.
Floor is yours.
I don't think 1.5 acres is enough, although I do agree with the vote of 1 to 1.5. 2.5 acres should be the minimum. My family and I moved here 4 years ago. We selected Dickson County. We selected it for its beauty, its agriculture. We still drive the country roads and back roads just to admire it. I'm not here to speak against growth because I know it's going to happen, but we need to take our time and plan carefully, especially with infrastructure. Infrastructure is more than just the roads. It's schools, post office, police, fire. And overdevelopment can come very quickly, especially when we're talking 1 acre road frontage, side-by-side houses. And pretty soon we'll have a convenience store, a fast food restaurant, and apartment buildings, and we won't even recognize the county that we all love. So I would please consider yes to the 1.5 acres, but also consider that's not enough, and to up it to 2.5 acres at a minimum. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
First of all, my name is Kanta Masters, and I live at 108 Branson Drive in Dickson. And I appreciate your service, what you do for us. I truly do. I know it takes a lot of time and dedication, time away from your families to serve your community, and I want to thank you for that, all of you. I decided not to make notes because I just chose to speak from my heart tonight. And this particular thing is probably the most important thing for me of everything for moving here is the land. We looked for years for the right place for us. And actually, we came to Tennessee because we met a wonderful man who was so kind. It was on the phone. And he said, "Where do you want to move?" Because our values were conservative. It didn't fit where we were living. I said, "I don't know. We haven't found the right place." And he said, "Why don't you consider Tennessee?" And I said, "Where do you live?" And he said, "Tennessee." And I said, "If the people are as nice as you, we're going to move there." And you know, they are, and we did. And it's been an incredible experience for us. But our property, we have a farm. I truly cherish it. I cherish our farm. I cherish all the land around it. and to be transparent with you. Twice now, land right near ours was going to be developed, and twice we just bought it. We're never going to develop it. But to be honest to you, we don't have the resources to keep doing that. We really need other people to step forward and really see what we have and cherish it, because you won't know what you had until it's lost, and it happens very quickly. We've seen it in our own lives. We were in a community that had a lot of agriculture, and it's all gone now, all of it. And we just don't want it to happen again. This is a beautiful place. The land here is beautiful, the wild animals, everything. So I'm just speaking from my heart and asking you to please think of your own grandchildren and children, and think of the future. And we just you can't sell that. Money doesn't even compare to the value of our land. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Okay, this is like when I was in middle school and did a book report. I always wanted to go after somebody that was bad. That way they couldn't tell I didn't read my book. So, but everybody's doing good tonight, so you might as well come on up and take it. Is there anyone else? Okay, thank you. Okay, we've had 4, and then, so there was 4 more of you raised your hand. I think we had somebody. Come on up. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Michael Pate, and I was born here in Dickson County. I lived here for a large portion of my life, and then when I graduated high school from Dickson County High School, I left the county, and come back to the county, left the county. I currently own property here in Dickson County, and I also own property over in Humphreys County. And I'm on the other side of the fence on this. I'm in opposition of the changes based on a couple things. One is to be fully transparent, what I do for a living. I work for a company that we build homes that are like the homes that some of these folks are describing. When it comes to the emotional side that I hear some people talking about this land, I just want to tell you that over 100 times in the past 4 years, I've witnessed that same emotional tie to the $200,000 to $299,000 house that I've sold somebody. A lot of times it's really young people. They just got married, they just got out of college, they're starting their life. And I see that same emotion with that 1 acre lot with a beautiful home in the middle of it. And they look at each other and say, hey, we're fixing to have kids here. We're fixing to get to send them to Creekwood High School. We're fixing to get to do this. They have that same tie as the person that has the funds to buy 20 acres here. It is really, really difficult to own 20 acres in this county. I don't know if you guys have noticed the prices, but they're high. I can tell you when the Planning Commission passed this just a few weeks ago, the price went up the next day. The next day, people that had 5 acre tracts said, hey, it's $150,000 for 5 acres, or no, it's $200,000 for 5 acres. They saw an immediate reason to raise the price. Sometimes changes are about timing, and this could not be a worse time to restrict access and use of property. Inflation is at an all-time record high. I'll be 40 years old this year. According to every media outlet, I haven't seen that type of inflation in my life. It's never happened. And when you make a change like this, immediate inflation follows. I can tell you, I own the land that this is gonna affect. I will have to sell it for more. I've got to pay my bills. That's how I fund my way of life is dividing property and building houses. I'm currently building on 76 acres in Tennessee City. It's roughly $8.2 million is the retail value of the subdivision. When we started about a year ago building this subdivision, it was about a $7.2 or $3 million subdivision. That's how much it's went up since a year ago that we purchased it. It's just rapid increases in every material is causing these houses to go up, and making changes where I'm gonna get less for the product that I own. I have to go up. I have to. And part of me, I was raised by people that worked their tail off and they lived here. My parents they worked a lot to give us believe it or not, a 1 acre row house in Tennessee City. That's what I lived on. So it was acceptable when that farm was divided up. My house was built, according to the front porch, it was carved in there in 1908. And it was on a 1 acre lot in Tennessee City. So this has been acceptable for a long time. There's really nothing new here, other than the main reason that a lot of these changes people are wanting them to happen is, yeah, that's right, they did come here. And they did find something beautiful. And they found something nice. And they want to shut the gate. And they want to make rules and changes that only allow them to have something nice. Some people who are supporting this live on lots and homes that wouldn't meet the requirements that they now support because they don't want more neighbors. And I really can't understand that. And there were people on that planning commission that voted to change rules that their current residents would not meet these rules. And all I'm saying is we've got to give people a fair chance to own a piece of land here. And some folks can only afford 1 acre lots. Some folks are fortunate, can afford 20. Some folks are really fortunate, can afford hundreds. I can tell you that 76 acres, just the infrastructure cost was about $112,000. That's what it cost me to get the first house ready to sell, was $112,000. Not counting the sales price of the property. That was just for the water and for the power lines and the surveying. That's how much money we spent out there. On day one, when I bought the property, the county received $4,000 in rollback taxes on day one. And now they're gonna receive 23 individual parcels, the smallest one being 1 acre and the largest one being 10 acres. And I just ask you to keep that in mind, that we've got a lot of folks that wanna move here, and these changes will negatively impact that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Marcia Williams. I spoke to most of you, so it's really good to put faces with the names of the folks that I've talked with. I'm at 1085 Old Stage Road, District 1. There's a couple of things that I wanted to say, but I'll speak to this gentleman that just spoke here. We're not trying to stop growth. We're trying to zone growth like that for high residential in areas that are zoned for high residential and not zoned for agricultural. And I'll give an example. A large farm next to us sold many years back, and that's when the requirement was for 5 acres. All of those people have lived there now for 15 to 20 years. They're my neighbors. They farm, they have llamas, they have chickens, they have all this stuff. We take care of each other. We're a part of each other's family. Our lives are intermingled. But what has happened also near my home is one of these 1 acre lot homes that just pop up and they're there, and then they literally almost become rental properties. People realize they can't stay there. They're gone within a year to 18 months. They do not become part of our community. I don't even know where they move to. They may move out of Dickson County. I don't think that we need to use our agricultural areas for starter homes, as this gentleman's talking about. I understand the cost. I'm sorry about that. I really am. But our agricultural way of life for these people that I'm a native Dicksonian, lived here all my life, where we want to protect what has made it so special. And I know that's maybe sounding emotional, but it's also financially sound, because as I think Tina spoke, we have to plan for that growth so that our schools are prepared for growth. Our infrastructure, all of our infrastructure is ready for that. So it's not we're trying to keep people out. Nobody can stop growth. My granddaddy taught me that when I didn't want telephone poles going down my property. But you can't stop it, and we don't want to stop it. But we do want to make it where it fits in with our local environment and the means that we have for taking care of these people. So I'm also of the feeling that I don't know how in the world it went from 5 acres to 1. Somehow that got past a whole lot of us. So my feeling is you're probably going to want to plan for growth. Planning takes time, 1 year, 2 years. I would really think it's absolutely a good compromise to go to 2.5. That's half of what it originally was. It's much better than 1.5, which will slow it some, but not have very much impact really. We need to look at having something to control this growth now while you folks work so hard at developing a true plan for growth because this has happened rapidly. It happened faster than any of us could anticipate. It was just there on the next day. You're going down the road and suddenly they're there. It's amazing how this growth has taken over the agricultural areas. So I'm a 2.5 acre person, and I really wish, and I know that you can consider that. I know that's not what was brought to you from the Planning Commission, but it was what was originally put forward at the Planning Commission. And it had a lot of support from the county for the 2.5. So here we are, trying to nick away again at what really should have probably been the initial compromise from the 5 acres. So thank you for your service, and you were all so kind when I spoke with you on the phone. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your commitment. I know this is a tough one for you, so I appreciate everything that you all do.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Looking for speaker number 7 now.
I'm Brian Hill. I live at 219 Jackson Street in White Bluff. I'm also a builder, and I'm on City Commission, or City Council, White Bluff. So I'm going to entrust you guys to make this call, as I hope everybody trusts me when I'm sitting in my seat. I will tell you, I own about 50 acres. I don't live on it. I live on a little tiny tract in the city, so I can be on council. Because 50 acres is in the county. And where I do understand where everybody's coming from on the smaller tracts, I get it. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to have that property due to my parents helping me and passing a lot of that down, and a lot of hard work on my part. However, I put a post on Facebook that I just want to share with y'all. And that's the problem I have with this. So in planning, I couldn't speak. I was here. It's very difficult not to speak because I'm outspoken. But later, I saw a post that basically was saying if they can't afford 5 or 10 acres, 20 acres, 50 acres, you need to live in the city, all right, and be on an acre lot or a quarter acre, whatever. My problem with that, and I stated that, I said, so basically you're saying that if you have a 5 acre tract with a nice home, the person that doesn't want to live in the city no more than you do can't have a 1 acre tract agricultural for a place for their kids to play, their dog to play, whatever they want to do, they're not welcome. And one lady commented back, and I won't name her, said, that's absolutely right. If you can't afford 5 acres, you need to stay in the city. I think that's a very dangerous precedent. And I'll quote one of the planning members that said, Hooper Road was the example. The property behind those houses is a wasteland. I disagree with that. That property is where the kids play. Like I say, the dogs run. You practice your bow and arrow, whatever you do, that you couldn't do in the city on a quarter acre lot. And I just don't feel like that if you can't afford 50 acres, that you should be, banned to the city, which we're welcome to have them. I'll sell them as many lots as they want in the city and build as many houses. But I just don't think that's fair. And I don't think as a county that's, as much as I understand it, I don't think that's the direction we should go. So, but I'll let y'all make that choice because y'all are in the seat tonight. So we definitely appreciate it. And thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Who's number 8 out there?
Good evening, Mayor and Council Commissioners. I'm Dennis Holtz, and I own a farm in District 1 at 108 Branson Drive. I'm a California refugee, so I know my comments are probably worth about 20% of the people who grew up here, but I thought I'd get up and say something anyway. What I wish to say is you only get one chance to get this right. I lived in a small town in California, less than 15,000 people. We call ourselves the flower capital of the world. Rows of flowers, miles of flowers, greenhouses, packing companies. That's where I lived for a long time. It was a beautiful place. And then, same thing as here. It's like I'm living my nightmare all over again. I moved here to get away from it, and here we are. I've heard the same statements from the same different developers, same statements, same things from the people, both sides. All I can tell you is, 10 years later, all the flower fields have been growing houses. Greenhouses got torn down, more houses. Packers left because they couldn't make any money. I had a business there. I was selling flowers on the internet in 1999. And the Packers packed my flowers when they came in from the field, and we did it that way, but that all went away. So, '98, I was on the city council. In 2001, I was mayor of that city. There was nothing we could do. What happens that I learned is government usually reacts to a problem. They don't solve the problem when they see it coming. They wait until it's so bad that everybody's up in arms, and by then it's too late. There's some government decisions that can be reversed. If you decide you want a higher gas tax, you can put it in. And if people don't like it, and they vote somebody out or they come to the meetings, you can take that gas tax back away and put it the way it was. But with land, it's different. When you build a house, that house is there for 100 years. It's going to be there when your grandchildren are there. So when you build all those houses out, you can't go back. It's done. It's done good. So land use is something that government has to deal with. If government says that a big Goodyear rubber power plant has to be put in next to somebody's house, people come complain, they create an area for it. And I'm not against development. I understand there's big pressure here and something's got to be done. But the question is, how's it going to be done and where's it going to be done? And that's what your job is, and I'm glad I'm not sitting over there. See, all of your votes are going to be yes votes, all of them. If you vote for the 1.5 acres, and I think that's not much, but if you vote for the 1.5 acres, that's a yes vote. And what we'll have is a policy that says elbow to elbow, 1.5 acre lots down every country road in Dickson County. That's your policy right now. Build anywhere you want, right down the road. Or you're going to vote a yes vote for what we got today, which is 1 acre lots elbow to elbow all the way down every road and up and down through this whole county. Anybody can do it anytime they want. And those are your policies. That's what you're looking at. It's not about now in time. It's getting out in front of what's coming. There's a fire hose of demand. There's a fire hose of development pointed at Dickson County and at all of us and all of you. And it's coming whether you like it or not. And either you listen to what the problems are today and forget about the future, or you start looking at the future and you say, what are we going to do with this? You see, somebody's got to wade in among all the dogs. There's a dog fight. They're all in the same pen. But somebody's got to take the big dog, the development, and give him his own place to roam so he doesn't kill all the little dogs, the agriculture, the tree-lined streets, the country style of living. And that's what it really is a dogfight, and you guys need to separate it out and figure out what's going to be where. So, good luck, and I hope you can do the best you can do, but I really believe it. It's got to be a few acres, and there's got to be a place set aside for the people that want to live the other way. 1 acre lots, fine. Find a part of the county, make it that way. But you don't just let it run wild everywhere, or we're Spring Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. This is something we get to do. Everybody's been so good on their time tonight. I've been informed by our deputy that we have another speaker that came in that wants to speak. Mr. Comer has recognized he wants to speak. So, Mr. Comer, that lady, yeah, yes, ma'am. We'll let you go first since you asked, and Mr. Comer. But we're going to open it up. We're doing really good on time. So if you decide after these next two individuals you want to speak, we're more than glad to hear from you on this. So I know you weren't here early, ma'am. If you just come to the speaker and state your name and your address, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Cynthia Hernandez. I just moved here to Dickson in April, and I grew up in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. I actually came from Hendersonville, but I've been there most of my life. Started in 1981, watched it grow for the last 40 years. My house is actually, where my house stood, is actually a Publix parking lot right now, if you know where that is, on Long Hollow Pike. Oh, I was supposed to say do I need to say my address? Okay. It's 300 Kevin Drive.
Thank you.
So I have watched community explode, and it's not specific to agriculture. I think I want to make sure that we stay focused on this discussion tonight. This vote is about agriculture and protecting agricultural land. It doesn't have anything to do with residential. Now, if you want to zone some agricultural land for residential, that's a completely different subject than what we're voting on tonight. When you think of agriculture, what do you think of? You think of cows, horses. You think of crops, crop production, farms. You think of hunting, fishing, trees, big trees. And so that type of thing, it needs its own environment that's conducive to that type of agriculture. It's actually a business here, a big one. And so I'm not against development, business, or real estate, because agriculture is also a business. And if you have got your hands in the real estate business, just know that we're watching you. I was in on some of the preliminary meetings, and some of those people, they voted the same way as their real estate ventures. So there is a time and a place. Right now is the time to take a step in the right direction. Conservation and preservation is very important to people. I moved here because it has that great hometown feeling that Goodlettsville had 40 years ago, and I'd hate to lose that. The future farmers of America, they're going to need a place to do their agriculture, and also the green belts of Tennessee is right here. This is a unique opportunity to go back in time and correct. It should have never been zoned for 1 acre lots. So protect environmental and make it conducive to be able to do its job. So that's all. I hope you vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? No, this will have, I know Mr. Comer will get you, and then we have a gentleman in the back on this. I'm going to give everybody a chance to speak. We have another one back here. Okay. So we're at number 10, 11, 12. Is there anyone else after this? Because at some point, I think we're hearing it, but I don't want anybody to be left out. So I want you to have an opportunity to be heard. So everybody wants to be heard remaining if you raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Do I have another? Was there someone else? Okay. All right. At this point, we're going to cut it off for y'all three. But if you want to speak, let me know now. So, okay. So the final three, if y'all would come up and do the same thing, we'll get started.
I wasn't planning on speaking, but as you can tell, I am a transplant. I just moved here a year ago. And from
Could you state your name and your address,
Barbara
please?
Hall, and I emailed everyone kind of my thoughts. My address is Payne Springs Road in Dickson. And I thought that this was kind of a done deal with the 1.5 acres, but I do agree that 2.5 acres, you're talking agriculture, does make more sense. what happened near me, people would buy a house for a ridiculous amount of money and put 4 houses on that lot. So when you start thinking about zoning, you really have to think about what's going to happen future-wise. You can always revisit a 2.5 acre plan down the road when you see how growth is, but I mean, the demand is going to be there, but then maybe it isn't. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back, would you like to speak next?
I'll let my good friend David Ford go last. My name's R.J. Comer. I'm a planning commissioner in Dickson County, and many of you know me. I only want to speak to you about facts. I'm not going to argue about this thing. You know that I'm for it. I wrote it. With my colleagues, Todd Berry and David Brogdon, we worked hard on this. We worked hard on the compromise that's before you today. But I just want to share with you some facts. Here's a fact. Over the past 2 years on the City Planning Commission, 3 out of 4 subdivided lots that came before us, all the subdivided lots that came before us in the past 2 years, 3 out of 4 of them are on a county road with a driveway. 3 out of 4. 88% of the subdivision maps that came before us in the last 2 years only subdivided the county roadway to the exclusion of all the other land that was available to that subdivider. Because they just want to do a 1 acre lot with a driveway on a county roadway and sell it. And that is not good planning. It is not good planning. So that's one fact. The other fact is this. This proposal, whether you're for it or against it, does not prohibit a 1 acre lot. It doesn't prohibit a ½ acre lot. It doesn't prohibit any kind of development whatsoever. It simply says that in the agriculture zone, where we have learned over the past 2 years that a single family home on a 1 acre lot is not an agriculture use, and it's not being developed as an agriculture use, it's being developed as a 1 acre residential subdivision. Well, we have a zone for residential development. It's called the R1 zone. And this does not prohibit an R1 proposal in what's currently an agriculture zone. If you really care about providing starter homes, now when I was in a working class family in Chicago, the idea of a 1 acre lot and a single family home, that wasn't a starter home, that was a dream come true for us. So these folks that have a starter home like that, God bless them. But if you really care about, providing an affordable single family home, well then apply for a R1 zone. We'll consider it fairly. You'll consider it fairly because it'll come before both our bodies, right? So here's the fact. This proposal does not prohibit what they're telling you it prohibits. And doing nothing is going to result in 3 out of 4 lots being on county roads until there's no more county road frontage. And it's going to result in 85% of the subdivisions before us eating up the county roads until there's no more county roads to eat up. Those are the facts. I just wanted to share them with you. I know you'll make the right decision, and I'll be around in case you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Comer. Mr. Ford?
Good evening. My name is David Ford. I live at 131 Speedy Watts Way in Burns, and I appreciate the time that I get to speak to you tonight. I've heard a lot of the discussions. I was at the Planning Commission meeting when this was they voted on it to start these changes. I've listened to all of you, and I appreciate that everybody is passionate about our community. I've lived here my whole life. I build houses and I develop land here. And I see that there are a lot of people who are passionate about preserving our rural nature. And like Mr. Comer, I sent you all some facts of some data of the last of a 12-month window of the approved subdivision plats and what that offered and what this community gained by that. And there were a number of houses that were allowed to be established because those subdivision plats were approved. 81% of those were in an A1 zoning. And it could have been rezoned to R1 if the owner of that had petitioned the Planning Commission and then you guys to change that zoning. But the reality is that it didn't need to be, and we're really not losing that much. 98% of the land that's in Dickson County is zoned A1 now. If we continue to grow at the same rate for the next 6.5 years, we would lose 1% of our road frontage that accesses A1 zoned land. So the same rate of growth for 6.5 years, we would go from 98 to 97%. On the land use, the 98% that's zoned A1 now, at the same rate of growth, it would take 20 years to reduce that number by 1%. So the preservation of our rural nature is not in jeopardy. It's changing, absolutely. There are new houses that are coming up, and there's still a tremendous amount of land and roads that are available. So I see that people want to maintain the way that our community looks, and I appreciate that. I think my problem with the changing of the zoning is we have good zoning ordinances now. We have good subdivision regulations that are in place now. I don't think we should change them until we can do something to have better planning for the higher density development that the developers need, that the new homeowners are wanting because they want to keep prices down. There is a balance of the smaller piece of land can put a smaller house on it, and that makes more affordable housing for our kids, our grandkids, for the people that want to move here, for the people that need to downsize. But I don't see anything, and I haven't in years, come before the Planning Commission or this body where they're going to increase high-density development like a PUD R3. It doesn't even exist on Dickson's planning subdivision regulations and the zoning. Where is that we're creating the higher density development that it's embraced? We got a growth plan that's 22 years old. The county just contracted to have a new land management study done. I think it would be better, and it would serve everybody's interest if you waited on this vote. If you couldn't just vote it no, to wait. Get the results back from the land management study. Look at the growth plan that has to be reestablished. It's outdated, it's old. Get the new information and use that as your tool so that we can do proper planning. I know y'all want to plan, and I know that everybody here is talking about that they're not against growth, they're not against development. So then let's just pause for a minute, use the information that's going to be available to you in the next 12 to 18 months, and let's establish some areas that would be more suitable for the high density development that would allow me as a developer or builder to offer that entry-level home to that person that wants to move here. If we make those areas that are available, then it sounds like to me that you could solve a lot of the issues on both sides of the aisle here. But if you do this today, it's unequivocal that you are going to change the economic stance of what this community is being supported by. A lot of this community is supported by residential construction. From the housing that buys, the house that buys lumber, to the guy that nails the boards together, to the ball teams that get sponsored by that contractor, to what about the people that aren't here tonight that move into these houses? They're very thankful that they have it. I think that there's
Okay, I've got 5 minutes.
I think there's a real need for the growth, for us to plan for it. And I don't see that this is planning. I see all it is prevention. Stop, stop, stop. And if there was a place for me to go build that was high density where we could be better offering this, then I would embrace that. And that's what I ask, is that you guys take the information that's going to come to you in the next 18 months, then make your decision.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. That brings an end to our public hearing. Next item of business is, under other business, is revised zoning resolutions. We'll go over all these. Mr. Reagan, will you walk us through the technicalities, what these votes will entail tonight and what it takes to make those happen?
Yeah, so again, this is a first reading, and as always the case when you're The way this body has handled these amendments to the zoning resolution is immediately following a public hearing, you take a vote on moving it along, and if you move it along, it'll go to the next regular meeting or to whatever meeting it is set to, but typically it would be the next regular meeting of this body. And at that time would be a final reading that would be a reading for record on these proposals. And so you have three that are before you that you would be taking up tonight. A vote tonight, one way doesn't obligate you to vote that way when it comes time to vote at the next meeting, but you're simply saying, yes, I want this to move forward.
Thank you. Oh, absolutely. We'll go through each of these. I just wanted y'all to understand from the rules and more importantly, the public to understand, because this is not a final vote tonight. We will be back on Tuesday, February 22nd in our next regular meeting. If these are moved on, you have 30 days before they come, it'll be actually in excess of 30 days before they come back. So wanted to make sure you understood that. So under any procedural questions for me or Mr. Reagan? Okay, if there's no procedural questions, we'll go back to each of these on their own merit. First, their other business, revised zoning resolution 5.041 subsection E4 changes lot size requirements from 1 acre lot to 1.5 acres. Open floor for discussion. Mr. Williams.
I'd like just to have a few minutes to go over some of this information, so bear with me. I've got quite a bit of information, and maybe hold your hand up if I use my time.
You're commissioner. I'll give you more than 5 minutes tonight.
I did attend the planning commission back, I think it was in November, when they approved this, and I was very, very impressed. One is that we had 12 members there, and so I know that's been a challenge for us to get 12 members on that board, so that was the first thing. And then the second thing that night is they started out with a 2.5 acre lot, and they didn't have the votes, and so they compromised at 1.5 acres, and they was real cordial, and everybody was, nobody got upset and was screaming and hollering, and it was a really good process. They let people speak for and against, and it was a really good meeting. And the 1.5 acres, at that point, I think most everybody felt like that was a good compromise. We went from 200 feet to 160 feet of road frontage. And at that point, I was like, hey, that's a good compromise. I could support that. But then after that, they went on to the subdivision regulations. And before everybody jumps up and starts screaming, I know that we don't regulate those. That's the planning commission. We only handle the zoning regulations. But two of the things that they implemented, and I know they only voted on it once, and I understand they got to have a public hearing and a second reading. But the two things that they voted on that I think is really going to stop the growth is they implemented a 50% rule on road frontage, and I'll read this. So it pretty much states that you can only let me see which one I got. So you can only subdivide 50% of your road frontage, and and then also they made an amendment to the road requirement. It was 18 foot wide for a major subdivision. I know I'm scattered and I'm kind of bouncing, but I'm going to come back to all this. So they had our existing subdivision regulations requires for a major subdivision what they consider is 5 lots. So if you've got 5 lots, you're considered a major subdivision, and the road has to be at least 18 foot wide, and they've moved that to 20. So where I'm going with this is that I applied all this to me. So I said, okay, I'm going to take all this information. I own my property. I've got 600 feet of road frontage, and at some point I would like to give some of my kids a lot to build on, hopefully. So as we stand today with the current regulations, that nothing's been changed yet, So I could go out there and I could subdivide 6 lots, 100 feet wide. My road's 18 foot wide, so I could, at this point, I could ask for one of the deficiencies because they allow one deficiency at this point. So I could get the 6 lots, okay? So then, if we don't approve this tonight, the 1.5 acre, then with the 50% rule, I'd only be allowed to do three lots because I can only do 300 feet of road frontage because that's 50%. And then if we approve this tonight, well, 2 lots would be 320 feet, which is over 50%. So I'm down to 1 lot. And so where I'm going with this is, I know we don't regulate this, but that's a 85% reduction, and that's just too much for me. And like the lady stated earlier, you know, I am about planned growth. And 20 years ago, I sat on the coordinating committee for a lot of people that probably don't know this process, but 20 years ago, we developed a growth plan, and there were 16 members, and each city, there's 6 cities here in the county, each person from that city got to be on there. The mayor, Mr. Ryle wasn't here, but the county mayor was on there. We had the soil conservation district. We had all the utilities. The school system put someone on there. Chamber of Commerce, environmental, construction, and we had homeowners, somebody who represented homeowners. We worked on this plan for 18 months, and this had to be approved by every city and the county. So that's 7 legislative bodies that had to approve this plan. And where I'm going with this is, we had, and each of those bodies had to have 2 public hearings and 2 votes. So when you total that up, that's 16 public hearings and 16 votes. No, is that right? I think, yeah, I think that's right. So this was a very lengthy process, and what it developed is it set up urban growth areas for the cities. The cities had areas that they developed that they could annex, and then the county had planned growth areas to where they saw growth that was going to happen that needed higher density or where they projected the growth. And then the county had a rural area that they had to implement. So where I'm going with this, so I thought, man, I haven't looked at that growth plan in 15 years, probably, maybe 20, after we got done with it. So if you look at that growth plan, which I still think today it's a pretty good plan, being 20 years looking back, if you draw a line through Charlotte, everything south of that is in a planned growth area. It's either in a city's urban area or in the county planned growth. So at that time, 20 years ago, everybody, I'm assuming everybody, and not everybody, but I guess all the cities in the county thought that's where the growth was going to be. And if you look north, a lot of the North County, it was preserved as rural. And I guess where I'm going with this is, back in November, we approved $115,000 to do a land management plan. And I think it's the mayor's vision is that we need to plan. And I think I think everybody agrees on that. And I guess what I would like to see is, I would like to see us put this off, and I would like to see us really create another committee instead of just 5 planning commission members. Is let's form a committee that represents everybody, the people that want to preserve the land, farmers, developers, builders, engineers, surveyors. Let's get a good group of people together, and let's take this growth plan, and let's take this land management plan that we're going to have developed, and let's truly preserve the rural areas. Let's call out rural areas, and let's go to 5 acres for the areas that are zoned for rural, and the areas that are in urban or in a planned growth, I think an acre is fine. So that's where I'm going with all this. I know it's a lot and I rambled, but I hope it makes sense. And so I would like to see us put this off, and hopefully we could come together and provide something a lot better.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams. Anyone else like to speak on this? Commissioner Beatty?
Are we expecting this thing that we believe that Benny's talking about, any information back?
On the growth and transportation plan, it'd be by this end of this year, probably about November of this coming year. And again, I know we've talked to a lot of people about this in the community and what the commissioner's referring to as a growth and transportation plan. We actually started work in earnest on this over 2 years ago, but this plan requires public meetings with community, and of course, we all know what happened 2 years ago. And so the cities, it's White Bluff, Burns, Dickson, and Dickson County that are participating in this, where the growth is on the south end of the county. We're due to have a meeting next week to have this truly started off again, but they expect that to be a 8 to 9 to 10 month function. So we're probably talking about November of this calendar year. We're on the revised resolution on lot size requirements. Would anybody else like to speak on that?
Yeah, I got a
Ms.
couple
Reedy.
things to say. Yeah, first I want to say I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I mean, this is what democracy is all about, and I hope I got back with everybody that called me. I think I did, and answered all your emails that you had. I think I did. So, thank you for that, and just continue to do that. We encourage everybody to get involved in the county business, and particularly make sure everybody goes and vote. I mean, I think that's the most important thing we can do. But I would be for a growth plan that would be an overall plan for us to really look at and really come up with something, and not just vote on something that is maybe a little bit ad hoc or whatever. But I would be for putting this off. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners like to speak on this issue? Commissioner Reed. Thank you. Any other Commissioner Ellis?
Yeah, if we put this off, then if anybody's thinking about subdividing the property, they got till like November and they can get their subdivision approved, right? At the 1 acre.
Well, I'll speak directly to it. If this is not passed, what's in effect today stays in effect until this commission makes the decision to change it. I hope that answered your question. What else like to speak on this? What you have before you is other business. It's typically, this will be in resolution form, but as you know, this will come back. If it does come back, it'll be on February 22nd in resolution form. So we have an option to open the floor for a motion. It can be to approve, deny, or to delay, or it can die for a lack of a motion.
I'll make a motion that we delay this.
To what date?
Till a plan gets developed so that we can look and make an informed decision on what the best thing is for the county.
So you're speaking, you want to delay it until the growth and transportation plan is done?
Yeah, how long will that be again?
Probably November.
Well, what does everybody else think about that?
That's a motion, so let's do this. If there's a second of that motion to delay this until the growth and transportation plan, we have a second, then we'll carry on discussion. Commissioner Dawson makes a second. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner. You had discussion with the body on that.
Yeah, I mean, what do y'all think? What's some input on that?
I'm for it. My only thing about waiting is I would love to see it go to 2.5 or 5.
Well, and that may come out of the plan that we develop. I don't know.
That would be my only reason for wanting to wait, is that it would be larger.
Right.
Mayor, would you be opposed to us or you appointing a committee to look at this and let's research this more? I mean, because I just don't think a one size fits all. If you live on Highway 46 in the south of the county versus someone that lives, north of the county in Cumberland Furnace or something, it's totally two different. So I guess that's why I would like for us to study that rural area, what we identify as rural, and then what we, look at as planned growth or urban growth. So, I mean, would it be possible to put a committee together that would work with this land and traffic plan? I mean, is that something you would be willing to do, and have a mix of people, maybe a few commissioners and some planning commission members and some other people in the community that has a good diverse group?
If the commission votes to ask me to do that, to be the will of the commission, I'd form a committee y'all asked me to form.
I would like to add that to that motion, so we can not just sit here for 8 months and do nothing. I mean, I would like for, at least for us to be moving forward with some stuff, and we could learn and at least get a lot of information and a lot of data. So I would like to add that.
Okay, that's amendment to the motion that Commissioner Eby and second by Commissioner Dawson on that. Do I have a second to Commissioner Williams' motion so we can carry on discussion? Second by Commissioner Beatty. Okay, any discussion we have now is on the suggestion to have a committee picked, and that's what you're adding to the previous motion. Any discussion on that? If there is no discussion, we're voting on the amendment. This will be to form a committee. Would request the mayor to form a committee if this is denied. Have I said that right?
If they approve this.
If you approve, yes. So we're voting on the amendment. This is Commissioner Williams' request, seconded by Commissioner Beatty. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the amendment, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now we're back on the motion by Commissioner Eby, second by Commissioner Dawson, to delay this until we have the information back from the growth and management study. That's proper motion and proper second. Is any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. You have two other forms of business to follow, and we will need to take these up individually because they've been presented to you that way. The next is a revised zoning resolution 5.041 subsection E that changes lot width at building setback from 100 feet to 160 feet. Again, you have an opportunity to approve this, to deny this, to amend it, or not act on it. The body just voted on the first one to delay it until the growth and
Yeah, I would make a motion on all three to delay.
Okay. Well, let's take it, since they were ordered this way, if you don't mind, Commissioner Eby, let's take them one at a time.
All right.
This is a similar motion by Commissioner Eby on this item. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Dawson. What this will vote on will be exactly what the other one was, to delay it and have a subcommittee formed by the mayor. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, vote by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 3, amend zoning resolution 3.030 to add subsection E. Any new subdivision lot which abuts an existing county road or highway must have at least 160 feet of road frontage. Open the floor for a motion.
I'll make a motion to delay that also.
Motion by Commissioner Eby, second by Commissioner McElwain. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item of business is announcements. Any announcements to be made?
One, Mayor, on our, one that was here, remember Booty Reed would always tell us in January about disclosures. Make sure you do that. So there's a deadline of that, like first, last day of this month, first of February. And they will find you if you don't.
There's some commissioners no longer here, and I'll give you their phone number if you want to find out. So, but do, if you would, make sure, and if you need help finding those, give them an office call, and we'll find you the correct link on the Facebook of Election Registry and Disclosure. The only other announcement I have that it's another big holiday tomorrow, but it'll be for Commissioner Simpkins because he finally is a year older than me again. So I'd like to point that out.
Tell who else what birthday is tomorrow. No, the part
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, that is a celebration. Thank you. I hope you have a happy birthday and have one with Dolly too.
I'm gonna be different from everybody else. I'm gonna say I hope I have many more.
There you go. Before I do the final announcement to set the next meeting, I truly want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This is how government works, and I appreciate your input on this. Again, I think you've heard from the commission, and I need to come out of the chair to say this, tell me, but I think you heard from them tonight that they realize there's issues that need to be worked on, and that we've heard both pro and con on what was done. Please continue to talk to your election commissioners and your planning and zoning members and let them know, because it's a body of work that will continue on, and regardless of what occurred tonight, the community is going to continue to change and the needs are going to continue to change. So it'll be something we always need to continue to discuss. So I truly want to thank you for being here tonight on that. If there's no other announcements, the final announcement will be the next regular session meeting will be on Tuesday, February 22nd at 7 p.m. in the Buford L. Booty Reed Jr. County Commission Chamber of the Dickson County Administration Building, 4 Court Square, Charlotte, Tennessee. To have a motion second adjourn, thank you.
Recording stopped.